Now, most of the hosts on The View are anti-gun. SC Cup is pro, but she's a guest host. However, not too long ago, Sherri Shepard, who is a host, said that she bought a gun, and let's just say the rest of the gang had some things to say about it. So here I am to break it down and correct some of the misconceptions.
We recently talked in Hot Topics about how more black women were becoming gun owners. And you just became one of them, Sherri, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I bought a 9mm.
Why?
Gun because, well, I don't know why you laughing, but
They're laughing because The View was filmed in New York, one of the most anti-gun cities in the world, filled with progressives who will scream female empowerment all day long, except when that female buys a gun to empower her ability to protect herself. But I digress.
You know, during the quarantine, I felt really helpless, Joy. When we're talking about depression, I felt like Jeffrey would look at me like, you know, he was so scared. I get these little alerts in my neighborhood app about it's going to be a march through the neighborhood. And I started feeling like, how am I going to protect my son if something happens?
Too many people have this misconception that they can rely on the government to keep them safe. Yet, during the height of the pandemic, when all of the major cities were dealing with mass riots, people quickly realized that when shit truly hits the fan, you're on your own. Because when you only have seconds to protect yourself, help is always minutes away.
And I got some of my girlfriends who are actresses, and we all went to a gun shop in California. There's only 2 black-owned gun shops. I think it was like a Redstone Firearms, Geneva and Jonathan. And we went, and I felt very empowered when I bought this gun. I took lessons. I took the test. I go to the range with my girlfriends like every other week. And it just makes me feel like at least if something happens, I can protect my child.
Where is the clapping? Where is the cheering? We always hear from anti-gunners that we just want common sense gun measures. We just want responsible gun ownership. She took her friends to a gun store, got a background check, got training, learned gun safety, all with the goal of protecting her son, and the audience that laughed at her is now stone cold silent. All of this common sense gun control, gun safety, responsible gun owner rhetoric is BS. It's about using gun control to eventually ban guns. She just demonstrated female empowerment in its purest form, and the audience is silent.
Yeah, I will tell you, I've had so many friends, my black girlfriends also get guns, especially during the pandemic, and they wanted me to get a gun. And as a former federal prosecutor and someone who has been to crime scenes and has seen a lot of gun violence in my career.
What's funny is that she doesn't realize that her experience as a prosecutor gave her firsthand knowledge on what happens to people who don't have guns to protect themselves against the criminals she was prosecuting.
You know, I know the statistics, and that when you do have a gun in your home, you are more likely to kill a loved one or a relative.
She doesn't know the stats. She just knows the talking points given to her by the anti-gun lobby, because anyone who has actually looked beyond the surface of her statements knows that it is based on junk science. That stat comes from a study conducted by Dr. Arthur Kellerman, who admitted he had an anti-gun bias and knew his study was trash because he refused to release the data behind his study for years. However, when the information was finally released, researcher Don Cates revealed that all available data now indicates that the home gun homicide victim in Kellerman's study were killed using guns not kept in the victims' homes. In other words, the victims were not murdered with their own guns. They were killed by intruders who brought their own guns to the victim's household. In retrospect, Cates found it was not the ownership of firearms that put these victims at high risk. Rather, it was the victims' high-risk lifestyle, such as criminal association, that caused them to own guns at higher rates than the members of supposedly comparable control groups. They do this all the time. They throw stats around like it's the end-all be-all, but when you look behind the curtain, it's all BS.
And the suicide rate goes up in your own home when you have a gun.
America has the most guns in the world in citizens' hands. If that's the case, then we should be at the very tippity top when it comes to suicide rates in this world. But we're not. We're not even in the top 10. She's using the same BS study as a coverall. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's just reciting anti-gun rhetoric that's given to her and everyone else who doesn't know what they're talking about.
And I understand about the training, but I will say, when I asked them, why are you getting a gun? One said, I Googled Civil War and 2020. One said, it's the propensity of certain people to initiate violence when they don't get their way. And in the article that we were given, it said, when you are being targeted, you hear stories like Breonna Taylor and Sandra Bland, and you have these incidents going on all across the country. You want to know you have at least a chance of survival because some people are radical. And I think we have to remember that the FBI has made it clear that the white supremacy is the most persistent and lethal threat to the country. And I think that is why so many black women and black people in general are now arming themselves. But I still believe that in this country, our readiness to sort of allow arms to be purchased at will and fired at will has led to violence and hatred becoming a really popular pastime.
Not even Simone Biles has the ability to engage in the level of mental gymnastics that she just engaged in. The mainstream media is constantly telling black people that they are victims and that white supremacist zaddy is coming for you and that the right-wing militias all have guns and they're getting ready to kill all the black people and that the police are racist and will shoot you as soon as help you. Then when a black woman goes and gets a gun to protect herself from the very danger that you keep telling her that she's in, you criticize her decision to do so and say that her ability to go and buy a gun for protection is the reason violence and hatred have become a popular pastime?
Let me just give you a piece of information. Okay, no, because I'm a big gun control person. Back in the 60s, the NRA fought alongside the government for stricter gun regulations. Why? Because there was an effort to keep the guns out of the hands of African Americans as racial tensions grew.
Did she really just say that she's pro-gun control and then proceed to tell the black women who just bought a gun about how racist gun control is?
They wouldn't even give Dr. King a concealed carry permit. The same man that was killed by gun violence.
So if more black people get guns, you're going to see bigger gun control laws. Watch.
Cognitive dissonance is a hell of a drug, let me tell you. Upon hearing about a black woman buying a gun for protection, this woman dives into a monologue about how having a gun at home means you're more likely to kill yourself and your family members, but then turns around and gets mad about the fact that they didn't let Dr. King have a concealed carry permit. Then she gets co-signed by a white lady who told the black woman that just bought a gun for protection that she loves gun control, and that is now telling her that if more black people get guns, you're going to see even bigger gun control.
And I hear what you're saying, but I'm saying as a single woman, the helplessness I felt, and when I looked at my son and he looked at me like, Mom, I'm scared. I knew physically I'm not able to combat. I take self-defense lessons.
I have to call this out because I see it all the time. These liberal progressive types are always talking about living my truth, my body, my rights. Here you have a black woman telling you her truth. She doesn't feel that she can effectively defend her body and her son without a gun. And all she's getting is airhead babble talk about gun control and fake stats about how she's going to kill herself and her whole family. Which one is it? Does she not have the right to defend her body with a gun? No one questions the elite about using guns to defend themselves. No one is telling the president that he's more likely to be shot by his Secret Service with guns than protected by them.
I'm a gun owner as well. And you don't have to sell me on the empowerment I feel, knowing how to use firearms and having firearms. But it breaks my heart that so many people in this country feel so unsafe, that women feel unsafe from men, that black and brown people feel unsafe from the police, that Asian American people feel unsafe from discrimination, that kids feel unsafe in their cities. I mean, that breaks my heart. And as much as I love that you are now a proud gun owner and someone who's, I know, going to be real responsible with your gun, it breaks my heart that we are so quick to the gun.
I don't know if I'm proud. I'm just, that's the only thing I feel like I'm doing.
I agree. It's sad that we have to have guns to defend ourselves, but that's life. You may not like it, but that's the world we live in. Evil exists. It always has. There's nothing new under the sun. So you either take reality for what it is and take steps to protect yourself if that reality shows up at your front door one day, or keep thinking you can virtue signal your way to a new reality. The latter will get you killed. The former will at least give you a fighting chance.
I have to go. I feel if I got a gun, I'd shoot myself. I'd shoot myself in the foot. I'm such a klutz.
You'd be surprised how many people feel this way. She may seem like she's joking, but she's not. This is the real reason why she's pro-gun control. She's projecting her insecurities onto everyone else. She feels like, since I don't feel safe with a gun, you shouldn't have a gun either. A ton of people who are anti-gun have this exact same mentality.
Keep it in a place where I keep my gun. I keep my gun next to my in the drawer next to my special toys. So if you come in my house, you're gonna get a happy ending or an ending. I'm just saying.
Okay, now you're just doing too much. All right, so before I go, I just want to let you guys know about my new design that released called If You Know, You Know. There are a lot of people out there who think they know what the Second Amendment says, but they don't. They don't have the slightest clue. So this is one of those shirts that's designed to get people's attentions to be like, if you know what exactly. And in each of these letters is a very notable and famous pro-2A quote, including the Second Amendment. So they're available now at shop.mrcolionnoir.com. Go on the store and get them now. Of course, also have the Let's Go Brandon stuff as well too. Guns aren't political. That's why I need your help getting this message to spread on YouTube by clicking the thumbs up button, leaving a comment to let me know what you think of the video, then subscribing to the channel. But most importantly, click that bell symbol. For products featured in this video, click the links in the description.